Hi guys, it's Kelly Latavola here, and I am back with another video for W+9. Today we're going to be using the Ironworks background die, the Modern Peonies, and the basic banner. So I'm actually going to be making two cards. Oh, and the family. I forgot that this is one of the new ones, and I really love this because it has some family terms that are a little bit I guess not as mainstream as like mom and dad. It's got Nana in there and Pop, and like that's what my Peanut calls my he calls my dad Papa and my mom Nana. So I love that those are in there. Here basically I've already die cut the background out of W+9 white cardstock, and then I'm just putting a little bit of Tombow Mono multi glue on the back of it. This dries, if you put it down immediately while it's wet, it's going to stick permanently. But if you wait and let it dry, it's repositionable. So I'm going to use this to do some inlay die cutting. Now let me just start right off the gate. There is a easier way to do this than the way I've done it. But this is, basically I was working with what I had on hand. So the way I'm going to do it is I'm doing little pieces of Scotch foam tape, and I'm just filling them in where all the little pieces are going to go. You can see on the right hand side I have all my die cut parts, and I'm just going to pretty much put it together like a puzzle. I know that for a lot of people this isn't going to be something that they want to do or want to spend their time doing. I like putting together puzzles, so it didn't really bother me any. The easier way to do it is with white fun foam. So I saw it on Jennifer McGuire's channel. Basically what you do is before you do your die cutting, you put a thin adhesive, like stick it, like the peel adhesive on the back of it. And then you remove that film off of the back, put it on a piece of white fun foam, and then die cut it all together so you can get the same dimension without having to cut all of these little pieces parts. And that works really well. But I didn't have any fun foam. And I certainly wasn't going to wait to make the card until I could purchase some or afford to purchase some. So this was something that I could make with what I had on hand. So there's two ways for you to do it. Once everything is like done, stuck down, I am going to go ahead and remove the guide that I have down there. And it did take me a little while to get it started on the corners, but once I got it started, I didn't have any issues like peeling it off. I just had to work around some of those. Some of them I kind of found it necessary to hold down with my thumb while I, moved it around. But it really didn't give me any problems. I had two pieces that came off among all those other little pieces, and strangely, they were like bigger pieces. They weren't even the tiny ones, which is what I would have expected. But because the pattern repeats itself, I didn't have any issues just putting them back where they needed to go. So yeah, that's how I did this. And then I did white on white for both of these because I just like a very clean look. But you could do this with anything. I think it would be really, really pretty to do with like a watercolor wash, like paper that you've done a watercolor wash on, or doing like a rainbow distress ink kind of thing. I think that there's a lot of options that would look really awesome. So for the piece that I removed, like my positive piece, I'm going to go ahead and put the Tombow Mono multi glue, that's just my glue of choice, on the back of this, and then I'm going to adhere that down to again, a plain white card front. So the one on the right, all of those parts are popped up. You can see, the shadows there. The one on the left is going to be adhered flat. Now you can see this background cuts out this very large circle. Well, I'm sorry, it doesn't cut out. That's not true. It gives the impression around this very large circle. And I wanted to put my focal point there because it's already basically creates a focal point for you. And for that, I wanted to do flowers. Mother's Day is coming, and I have two sisters. I usually got them like nothing outrageous. I usually just get them like the little bag of their favorite chocolates. For my sister Michelle, I usually do the Dove dark chocolate with sea salt caramel. And for my sister Kim, I do the dark chocolate with the mint. So just, a little something to kind of recognize them on Mother's Day. They're also, aunts to my little Peanut, and I just think it's something nice to do. So you can see here, I'm going to be stamping out everything because I'm going to be doing some Copic coloring. So I'm using Gina K Amalgam ink because it is Copic safe. So I'm just going to stamp everything out. I did end up stamping 3 of the smaller flowers here that you see here, and a bunch more of the leaves and a secondary banner. I wanted them to be the same but different. So, sisters not twins kind of thing. And you'll see that I use the same sentiment for both of them, which is kind of funny. So once I got that done, I did go back in and stamp them again. I just didn't feel like I got a very good impression the first time. And I think that that was due to my own, I just didn't take the time to ink it up as well as I should have. But honestly, that's the joy of having a MISTI for me, is being able to go back in and stamp them. This time I stood up, I gave a good pressure to make sure that I got a good impression. And then, proceeded, like I said, to the stamping of the next thing. These flowers, I love these flowers. These peonies are beautiful. I love all the flowers, honestly, in our modern floral series, but I think that they can be very overwhelming for some people to color, just because they look more detailed and people get nervous that they won't be able to get the look that they want. So, or they don't have the skill to get the look that they want, maybe is more likely. But so here we're going to do, normally I go lightest to darkest, darkest to lightest. That's not what I'm doing this time because I want to make it nice and easy for you guys. So when you're adding shadows to something, anytime one object lays on top of another, there's going to be a shadow. So it's real simple. Anytime you see one line next to another, one side of that line is going to have a shadow. So if there's one petal on top of another, the shadow on the petal on the bottom will have the shadow. So all I'm doing is going in with my darkest color and just drawing an outline. That's it. No flicking, no blending, no nothing. Just trace that outside edge. If you see a petal that is curled up, like these ones down at the bottom here, you may have a dark line at the bottom of it, and then also one at the top where you see that the petal is curling up over it. It's okay to have 2 areas that are dark in one petal, because if you saw a peony in real life and the petals were curled up over themselves, that petal would naturally be darker than the rest of them. Like this one in the top left here is completely open. It's not curled over whatsoever. That's definitely going to be lighter than everything else. So don't worry about it if you have areas like this one where I'm going to be doing, some darker lines in a smaller area. As long as you leave yourself a highlight. So notice I'm just doing the lines, again, not bringing the color out very far, because I want to make sure that I have enough room to keep that highlight, because in a stamp like this, where you have multiple layers, the highlights and the shadows are going to be what separate your petals. So I use 4 colors, but maybe you don't feel like you can get in there with 4 colors. That's okay. Pick a shadow, a mid-tone, and a highlight color. That's totally fine. You can absolutely get a beautiful result with that. You could probably even get a very good result with just 2 colors. But don't be so discouraged by just the look of an image that you don't want to try. And even as I was doing this, there were some petals that I missed. You'll see later on when I go back in with my other colors that there were areas where I was like, oh yeah, that should have had a shadow, and I missed it. Some of the things that I am doing where Dawn, who draws the stamps, illustrator and owner, where she has drawn in some lines into the larger petals that are more open. I am also adding some shading there. Here's where I forgot one of the shadows that should have been in there. So again, I am taking my next darkest color. So this is a V06, and I'm going right over that V09. And you'll see that the line is a little bit thicker because we're putting down more color, but it's still got a lot of white areas. Now, some of them where there's multiple petals on top of each other, the white area is going to be much smaller. That's okay as long as we maintain that white area, which is going to give us that separation of petals. And so you'll see this one obviously is purple. And then the other one I'm going to do, the smaller one, I'm going to do in some red violets. So some more muted pinks. And it's going to be the same thing, but I just wanted you to be able to see it on a open peony and then on a closed peony, which is more of a side view. So this is the third color. And then as we go through this, I am covering up the VO9, the VO6, and giving myself that edge of the VO4. For some of them, especially where they're curled up on themselves, this will be my highlight color because there isn't any, they're so curled over that the lightest color wouldn't even get in there. And so if you're not comfortable making that executive decision, then don't. It's okay. Then just leave that white area for your lightest color. It's still going to look super pretty. Right now it looks a little bit crazy and looks probably super dark, but it won't at the end. If you've watched my videos before, you know that I talk about it all the time. Copics are transparent. So when you put a lighter color over a darker color, it does lift some of that color. So if you feel like it's getting too dark, don't worry. When we go in with the lightest color, it's going to A, blend all of those things together, but B, it'll pick up some of that darker pigment. And then you should be able to look at it like here, and you can see I'm really just like slapping it down. I'm not paying too much attention about where it goes, but you can see the separation and the definition of each individual petal, and there was no fancy techniques here. We literally just did lines of color and then, filled everything in with the lightest color. Now you might be asking yourself about this large petal here that's kind of sticking out, that doesn't really have any shading, what to do with that. Don't worry, I'm going to go back in and I'm going to add a little bit of shading from the base of the petal for those couple that have a little bit more area. In this case, I am doing a little bit of flicking, just putting my marker down and then easing up on the pressure as I flick it up. But even then, I'm not using the darkest color. I just use the VO4 to add in a little bit of shadows and then going back in with the VO1 to blend it. So I'm not adding anything crazy. For the center of this flower, because this is the only one where it's visible, I'm going to use some yellows that are more on the golden side. So I'm just going to fill it in with the YO2. You might be thinking to yourself, Kelly, yellow and purple are complementary colors, and when you mix them together, you get brown. You are correct. However, because this particular violet is more on the pink side, they do blend together pretty decently. So it's not going to make brown. It's going to make more of a pinkish yellow. It's hard to explain. You'll be able to see it like in the photos, and especially if you're watching on the blog, there's, close-ups. So I'm just adding the darker colors mainly to the center and keeping that outside edge nice and light so I don't have to worry about blending my browns into my purples. This is the pink that I chose, and it's going to be the same exact thing. While I'm doing that coloring, let's talk about story time, because we're already halfway through this video and we haven't even had story time, and Lord knows I don't want you to leave without story time. So what we're going to talk about is, now it's been almost a month actually, because I got it on April 5th. So we're going to talk about my tattoo. I go to a retreat with my girlfriends twice a year, and I don't get to see them pretty much outside of that. And so somebody had put out there that there was a group that was possibly going to get tattoos. Now, I have had a couple in mind that I have wanted for probably about 5 years, did not have any tattoos at all. And so I had been looking for a fine line artist in my area. All that means is basically just somebody who can do small, intricate lines well, because if you get something very simple done by somebody who doesn't do lines well, it's extremely noticeable. It's not going to be like in a large, back piece or arm piece, chest piece that you wouldn't really notice it, because I wanted something that is so simple. I needed somebody who could nail it. And so I thought, well, this will be a really good, I guess like kind of like dry run to see if I can find somebody who does that. Because all of the girls who were going wanted smaller fine line tattoos. So our girlfriend Jana, wonderful that she is, found an artist in that area. We split into two groups. There was a group of us going in the morning, group of us going in the evening, and I was not committed. So I have always wanted like a little outline heart, and that has multiple meanings for me. I wouldn't get something on my body, for the rest of forever if it didn't have meaning to me. So for about, I don't know, the last 3-ish years, I've wanted this little outline heart. And long story short, there was somebody else that I had shared that information with in my personal life, and they went and actually got this. They got not that an outline tattoo or an outline heart is an original tattoo, but she went and got it. And I was like, what the what? Like, that's just rude. So I toyed around with some other ideas and was drawing a couple of things up, and I just didn't love them. I just couldn't find something that I loved. And the two that I want, that I was looking for an artist for, are actually for on my wrists. And that's going to be something that I look at every single day. So I certainly wasn't willing to start there until I knew it was somebody that I liked and I could trust. So I wasn't even going to go. That's the honest truth. I wasn't even going to go. And then when I was coming downstairs, there was a group that was going to a cooking class. They were the ones who were the rest of the ones that were going in the afternoon, because they were going to the cooking class in the morning. And so when I came downstairs, my friend Jessica was like, "Are you going this afternoon?" And I was like, "What?" And she was like, "Everybody in the afternoon group has bailed, and I don't want to go by myself." And I was like, "Listen, whether I am getting a tattoo or not, I will be there. I'm not going to let you go by yourself. Like, that's just a bad friend." So she was like, "Okay, you're sure?" And I was like, "Yes, I will meet you there." So Dawn asked me, she was like, "Are you getting one?" And I was like, "I don't know." She's like, "If you're getting one, I'm going to go." See, good friend. If you're not getting one, I'm probably not going to go. And cause she's not getting one. And I was like, "I honestly don't know." Well, then Sherry was also like, "Hey, I don't know if I'm getting one or not, but I want to go and just kind of check out the shop." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So the three of us call an Uber. We drive, the Uber takes us, it was probably like 30 minutes. Well, we get there. We've missed the morning group completely. They're gone. And the afternoon shift group isn't there. Well, on the way, we were talking about stuff, and Sherry decides she is going to get one. And when we got there, I noticed that there was a Dunkin' Donuts on the corner. And y'all know that I love me some Dunkin'. I just love me some Dunkin' Donuts. So Sherry was filling out her paperwork, and I was like, "Hey, yo, don't start without me. But while you're doing that, I'm going to walk down the corner and get some Dunkin' Donuts." So before I left, I was talking to the artist, and he was like, "Are you getting anything?" And I said, "I don't know that I am." I said, "The only thing that I really have ever wanted is a little outline heart. And, that's probably not anything that I'm, really going to get. So, probably not." So I go, I get my coffee, I come back. They've already taken Sherry back. She's getting her tattoo, because she already has some. So she's getting hers it's like right at the bottom of her neck, top of her spine. It's a little lower than that. Higher than the top, higher than the middle of your shoulder blades, but a little lower than, your neck, which is supposed to hurt really, really badly. Now, mind you, I've never had a tattoo, so I have no idea how badly it's going to hurt. And she sits like a boss. There's no other way to describe it. There's no flinching. The whole time she's having conversation. I'm taking pictures so she can see it. But there isn't, it's just like she's sitting there chilling, drinking a cup of coffee, having a conversation. And I was like, I cannot, I've always heard it hurt so bad. And she's just sitting there like amazing. So, she gets done and he was like, hey, I drew you a stencil, shows me the little outline heart. I immediately love it. And I was like, you know what? It's silly. It's not like anybody's ever going to be sitting me next to this other girl and comparing our tattoos. I am going to just get what I originally wanted. So I decided I'm going to get it. I know I want it on my foot. He puts the little stencil on and I start panicking. I have a lot of anxiety to begin with, and I was just really working it up in my head because I didn't know what it was going to feel like. And so I told, and my sisters were not with me. So my one sister has a lot of tattoos, and I was like, she's going to kill me. She's going to murder me. So I give Sherry my phone, and I was like, I need you to film it in Snapchat so I can immediately send it to my sisters. So she does, she films it for me. The tattoo artist was awesome. He played like a virgin for me. And I was just getting all worked up. Like I was starting to get like pale and sweaty. And, I was getting a little bit crazy with it. And so he was kind of like, joking around and trying to, calm me down. And the girls were awesome. And he was like, you don't have to do this. Are you sure you're ready? And I was like, dude, pull the trigger. Just pull the trigger, because it's not going to get any better because I don't know what to expect. So I'm just building it all up in my head, and it totally was not bad at all. The whole thing took 1 minute and 30 seconds, and it was done and it was over with, and I love it. The lines look amazing. If I decide to get the other two on my wrist, I will for sure go back to him. Side note, back to the card. I stamped the sentiment too high. So the sentiment says you're the best. Now, yes, I have two sisters. Yes, I'm giving them both a card that says you're the best because it's my card and I can tell them that they're both the best if I want to. So I'm fussy cutting all of these. Because there are dies for all of them, but I didn't, when I put the blooms together, I didn't want there to be a white border in between them, so I decided to fussy cut them. After I'm done fussy cutting them, I'm going to take a water-based, so mine's a Memento Tuxedo black marker, and I'm going to just outline all of the edges, and that's going to just clean those up before I start putting my cards together. So yeah, I would 100% go back to him. He was awesome. His whole demeanor was awesome. I love the way that it came out. Eric was really funny because he was like, I did not think you were going to do it. Like, I did not. He's like, I don't care one way or the other. It's not, my body doesn't affect me. But he's like, I totally did not think that you were. So really funny thing, when I, like later on, I was talking to Sherry and I was like, because I really felt more the vibration than I felt the needle. Like I would describe it as slightly uncomfortable. It wasn't like super painful, and mine is on my left foot inside, and like inside underneath my ankle bone is just this little, it's like the end of my thumb is bigger than my tattoo. The guys at work were teasing me about it. But anywho, so I said something to Sherry and I was like, I always thought it hurt worse than that. Like, you just sat there like it didn't even bother you. And she was like, oh, no, honey, don't kid yourself. That hurt so badly. It hurt awful. And I was like, but you didn't even make a noise. And she was like, no, because I knew you were going after me. And I knew if I said anything, then you wouldn't do it. So, like, there's a friend for you, right? Just enduring all of these needles on her spine without making any noise whatsoever, just so she doesn't completely freak me out about me getting my first tattoo. And then when I sent the video to my sisters, I literally typed in there, so I'm doing this thing, don't tell mom. Like, that's what I said, because I didn't want my mom to hear it, like third party from my sisters, and not hear it from me. Not that I was not going to tell my mother. But I just didn't want her to hear it like secondhand. And they were actually really good about it. I thought my one sister, the one who has, quite a bit of tattoos, would be disappointed because she wasn't there, but she was awesome, about the whole thing. And so, yeah, that's that. And these cards are it. So the ones on the right-hand side are popped up to be level with the rest of the background. The ones on the right-hand side are popped up to be level with the background. The ones on the left-hand side are popped up, period. They're the only portion of the card that is popped up. And the purple one will be for my sister Kimberly because she loves purple. And the pink one will be for my sister Michelle because she just loves flowers and she would be happy with basically, any of the flowers that I gave her. So I added shimmer to my flowers, and then I thought it would be fun to kind of add some shimmer to both of the backgrounds. So the inset pieces on both sides, I added some shimmer to. It's kind of hard to see in the video because it is white on white and I'm using clear glitter, but in real life you can see it really well, and it just kind of sets them apart and adds something a little bit different. So yeah, I hope that this gives you some ideas about how to use your large cover plates or backgrounds, and some confidence in your Copic coloring. So yeah, that's it. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.